Okay, so in this video I'm going to talk about decision making when you're building a wall, which parts of your wall to build first, and speed. So let me talk about speed intuitively before I talk about it practically in when you're building. So and decision making. So if you make the decision, and this is I'm just gonna say really basic things out loud. If you make the decision that gives you the highest chance of winning or the lowest chance of people getting into your war room in this case, every single time, you will always have played the best you can play, theoretically, and therefore you have the highest chance of winning. That's really simple. How do you apply that to defending though? And the way you apply that to defending is deciding which parts of your wall to build first and how fast you can build them. And thinking about the trade-off between adding another layer of buttons to your wall instead of placing a row of pressure plates. The difference between making your wall fancy versus digging out a pit. These are things that are not obvious for defenders, and really good defenders have figured out which one to do first. If the defenders that are usually the best are just the ones that can build as fast as they can, or build the fastest, or the defenders that make the most brilliant defense in the shortest amount of time possible. So how do you do that? The first thing that I talked about in my very first video or third video on how to build walls is build the glass wall first with these fences. Why? The reason you do this is literally because this has the highest return. This increases your chance of winning or decreases your chance of people getting into your wood room the most. Having a wall there is better than having nothing there, because if you have nothing there, people can just jump over you and get in. People can just run in without even looking at you and be protected by this spawn region or this wool room region. That's the reason you do the wall first. It gives you the highest chance of winning. Then what? What I always do is I build the main wall second. And the reason I make the main wall second with these fences is because I want to have my wall as high as possible so people can't just ninja bridge over me. Because yes, I might be able to take one person in a one-on-one if the wall is only 5 high, but if there's 2 people, I definitely can't take both of them because I would have to shoot one down and have him mess up, basically require him to make a mistake on his part instead of me make a good play on my part, and then kill the other one. That's not going to happen against good teams, against good offenders. What that means is, what I have to do to make sure people don't get in is build the wall as high as possible and add this so people can't just jump in when they're ninja bridging or bridging from whatever side. So this has the second highest, this increases my chance of winning the second highest. This is why I do it. Once I do this, then the question becomes, well, obviously what do I do next? What I do next is I always build my platform. If it's near the ground and not up in the air, I will build my platform and I will make like a base layer of my wall. I don't want my wall to only be too thick at all times, especially later in the game, like past 10-15 minutes. So what I will do is I will place fences and then I'll place my ladders, or I'll place my buttons or whatever, and I'll do it for like this part of the wall, but not necessarily this part of the wall. The reason I won't do it up here is because it takes a much longer amount of time than it does for me to place down here, because I have to pillar up, I have to break blocks on my way down, I have to scaffold around the side of my wall. I don't like doing that, because it takes a lot of time, and I'd rather do that when I know I'm safer. In the early parts of the game, when people are fighting for control, you could argue it's safer, but I find that it's not safer because within the first 10 minutes, there's a much higher chance of people getting into your wall than in the last 10 minutes, in the last 30 minutes, because of the way snowballing works, because of the way nerves and control and shit like that works. So I just want to make the best wall I can that gives me the highest return. If people are pushing me and they're trying to break in, I probably what was that? I probably don't need to worry too much about, oh, my battery's not in, hold on. I probably don't need to worry that much about people sky bridging in, which is why I won't make my wall fancy on the top, but I definitely do have to worry about people pushing my wall from the ground, which is why I'll do this next. I'll do this. Then what I'll do is I'll make my platform on the ground. On this map it's on the ground, or near the ground, because I need a positional advantage against people who push me, And that's really obvious because the trade-off. So the question you always have to ask yourself is, what would I be doing otherwise if I wasn't doing the thing I'm doing right now? And that answer is, after I built my wall, which is the most important thing to build, I have multiple options. I can build my platform, I can make my wall really fancy, or I can start building a pit, I can start placing pressure plates, I can start making a frontline defense even all the way up here. What is the thing that's going to give me the next highest percentage chance to win? My answer is making a platform like this, and the reason this is my answer is because I need a positional advantage on people who are pushing me, and I won't get that if this doesn't exist and I'm standing on the ground here, because then they can stand here and like hit me when I can't hit them because of the way like reach works when you're below people, or reach works when you're diagonal with people. Sorry, and I probably won't, and I definitely, and the next best thing is probably building like an anti-rush defense like this, or digging out a pit, or placing pressure plates, which may in certain scenarios have a higher percentage chance to win, but in this scenario it definitely doesn't, because after this wall is done, 10 minutes in, they probably don't have a bridge that's all the way into your wool room, so you don't have to worry about this lane, and they probably have not pushed your wool like 6 times, and you don't have to worry about all this block spam here or something like that. So you definitely need to have a platform to have a positional advantage. I will talk specifically about positioning in, I wanted to say this video, but I think I'm going to do it next video because it's a whole another mess that probably doesn't fit under the same umbrella. Okay, so I'll build this, and I'll make sure people can't place anything on it. At this point, this will take like 30 seconds to make. At this point, I have to consider what to do. I have to consider what do I have to do next. Well, that was kind of obvious. You're fucking it, man. Okay, and my options now are, like, I don't know, place pressure plates there, make a pit here, place pressure plates here, make a frontline defense, break the roof, something like that. Okay, the obvious option is not break the obvious answer is not break the roof, because then you're not beside your wall. People can just tunnel or rush in or whatever. You'd be a fucking idiot to be here. The next best option, place pressure plates here, may be a good option if people are pushing your wool. I'm going to assume people, or if people are bridging into your wool, I'm going to assume people are not bridging into your wool, so you don't have to worry about this. So you don't have to do that. What I would do then is I would build the frontline defense. And the reason for this is about, I would say 15 minutes in, 10-15 minutes in, you probably are going to start worrying about people pushing your wool room, and if you're going to start worrying about people pushing your wool room, you need to make the thing that stops them, rather than the basic thing that all defenses need. You need to start thinking more specifically to what they're going to do. And my answer is they're probably just going to push like so on the ground, like most teams do if they win a side. And if they do that, then I need to have some sort of frontline defense that stalls them long enough for my team to come and respawn and help me. And this is, I've already talked about this in a different video, but this is the kind of defense I make. It makes it hard for people to push, it splits people off. If you're curious about why I make this, watch my video on basic defending theory. Also watch my video about applying the 3 rules of defending to next gen. Yeah. Then the next thing I would do is just complete the defense, which would be to place pressure plates over here, and then go over here and finish this by making a similar wall here and then placing pressure plates along here, so people can't just bridge in and not take any fall damage. So people can't just bridge through here and fall and not take any fall damage when they water drop. And then after all of that is done and people are still not pushing my wool, then I will make my wall fancy. I might place fences here. I might place buttons here. What I will definitely do is finish the top of it by placing whatever here. I'll work from the top down. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so that's like just general, like, I hope I explained that clearly enough. That's just general, how do I get the most value out of my time? This is super important. the best way, so if you're having trouble making decisions like that, I completely understand. Not everyone's gonna learn this like in like one 15-minute video. The question is, so here's the rubric. Always build your wall first, then always build your platform first so you can get up into a positional advantage, and then start working from the front of your defense back. So after you build your wall and your platform, start digging out your pit, make your frontline defense first, then start digging out your pit, then start placing water or pressure plates on your pit, and then move back and finish your make your wall fancy. So wall, and then you work from the front back. That's quite simple. It's much harder to show that on a defense like this because next gen is very close to the front line, but on a defense like Race to Victory 2, it'll obviously be a little bit easier to understand. Okay, thank you for watching. Have a good day.